To discuss that threat emanating from radicalized Westerners in Syria, we're joined by Raffaello Pantucci. He's a senior research fellow in counterterrorism at the Royal United Services Institute. That's a think tank based in London. Raffaello, thank you so much for being with us. Let me just start right at the beginning. What do you think is the significance of this phenomenon of Europeans volunteering to do jihad in the Middle East?
Well, in many ways, this is not a particularly new phenomenon. This is something we've been seeing for at least the last decade, if not the last 2 decades, in fact. The phenomenon of seeing young Westerners, or Europeans in this case, who are traveling from their homes in European cities, leading, relatively comfortable sort of lives, deciding to choose to go and fight in Syria or in other battlefields where they participate in these sorts of jihadi wars, where they feel that they're participating in some sort of international conflict as part of a bigger globalized struggle, as part of sort of defending their religion against the religion of fellow Muslims from what these oppressive forces. So in itself, it's not a very new phenomenon. I think what's interesting about Syria is the magnitude and the scale of what we've been seeing. We've seen essentially in the last 3 years what by some estimates would be the sort of more people going from Europe to Syria than have gone to any other jihadi battlefield over the past 10 or 20 years.
Max Steinberg and Nissim Shan Carmelli, 2 Israeli soldiers who share a bond in service and death. 2 lives started in the U.S. and ended in Gaza. Both Steinberg and Carmelli joined a small group of Israeli fighters known as lone soldiers. They're IDF members from other countries. One Israeli diplomat told us IDF lone soldiers seem to develop a will to defend their Holy Land during childhood. A look at Max Steinberg's Facebook offers a glimpse into the life of a young soldier. His allegiance clearly split for the 2 countries he loved.
He felt that if this was his calling, that being on the sideline or even being in the back seat was just not going to work. So he put all of his attention and his focus and his dedication to being the best soldier that he possibly could be.
Steinberg is from Los Angeles. Carmelli, the South Texas beachfront town of South Padre Island. Pictures from one of his rabbis show the boy before the soldier. His mentor tells CNN, "We're devastated. The entire community is devastated. Sean will never be forgotten. He's a hero of the Jewish people." Currently,
stay right where you are, Raffaello. This is a story we've been covering for quite a while. People want to know, well, how many are coming? Where are they coming from? Last November, our senior international correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh saw firsthand foreign fighters traveling to Turkey and then getting smuggled into Syria. Here's a clip from that report.
The IDF is made up of about 175,000 active members. The group Friends of the IDF reports more than 2,500 of them are lone soldiers representing 60 countries, with the largest number, 740, from the United States. The initial tour of duty is 3 years for men, 2 for women, according to an Israeli diplomat. The lone soldiers fight for Israel, inspired by faith, and as the world saw over the weekend, they're willing to give their lives for their other country. Polo Sandoval, CNN, Los Angeles.
Just miles from Syria's savage war is Turkey's Hatay airport. International in all the wrong ways. Every flight we secretly film land carried men from countries Al-Qaeda calls home. Why are they here? 2 from Mauritania, these 4 from Libya with large backpacks.
Hello, how you doing? Where are you from? Benghazi, okay.
Another from Egypt, then Saudi Arabia, even Leicester in the UK. Most must be innocently travelling, but many say little and rush into waiting cars. It's astonishing to see such a global crowd, so open and close to Syria, where Al-Qaeda is blooming, right under the noses of Turkish border control.
Raffaello, I think it's important for us to understand these young men that are going there aren't doing it where they let me take the money I've collected here and buy myself a ticket. This is a very organized process. What's happening?
Well, I think it's some elements of it are quite an organized process. I think essentially the message has gone out that, you know, if you want to participate in jihad or you want to go join the fighting in Syria, essentially get yourself to Turkey, and then there are sort of ways across the border. Now, I think for some people we're seeing they are sort of collecting money, raising the funds to one way or the other here in the West or elsewhere, and then just flying to Turkey and then just sort of finding a way across the border. But what we're also seeing is a more sort of organized recruitment process that seems to be happening, whereby individuals here in the West and in other capitals are recruiting individuals who they then send along to contacts who will pick them up at the right place along the Turkish border to the area where they go to a training camp and will receive some sort of basic training to then go and participate in the fighting.
Does this bode for European security?
Well, I think the question, it undoubtedly raises a lot of concerns for Western security planners. If we look back historically, almost every other jihadi battlefield